start in 3, 2, and 1. So did you guys know that there exists a porn company called Hesaya, which has the specific tagline of porn for women, by women? And what's interesting to note here is that in stark contrast to your Brazzers, to your Evil Angel, to your Bang Bros, to your insert any stereotypical porn company, Hesaya has made itself famous and distinct because they do something remarkably simple. They give these women, these porn stars, the actual scenes that they want to work in. To work with the co-stars that they want, to change the scripts in their own scenes to cater to their own personal needs, to do all of the things that they want to do while still making porn. So what you've seen in the status quo is an amazing polarization and shift in narrative. It went from porn being grimy, disgusting, filled with quote-unquote whores and sluts, to it becoming, still that admittedly, but now as a result of this shift, has expanded so much to the extent that there are now female producers, female directors, and female-led scenes. They have separated the mold for what porn ought to be and have made it their own. That, more than anything, ought to receive at least some praise. The same way that women have liberated themselves outside of the mold of being just a mother and expanded to broader horizons outside of that, to being a lawyer, being physicists. The same way all these are accepted and supported by the movement ought to apply the same way to porn and P. And if we celebrate a woman like Leni Robredo for running for the presidency, then we ought to celebrate a woman like Aiden Cross for operating her own independent porn empire. 3 things in my speech: rebuttals, extension, and then some way. Onwards to rebuttals. Number 1, they attempt to challenge the lens in which they look at pornography. We look at pornography. We tell you that to a large extent, it's off-clash because they fail to nuance it to porn that for once is now by women for women. The producers and directors are literally women, and the target market are also women. Even if some women are offended by this, even if they are not conservative, they have the capacity to be able to opt out if they do not want to view this material. This is fine. It's a free country. However, if you prioritize the interest of the feminist movement, then it's your interest to celebrate these types of reasons, this type of consumption for the reason my partner already told you. Secondly, the LO talked about objectification. We tell you that at best, it's a wash because objectification is somewhat subjective. What empowers a conservative woman may inhibit a liberal woman's sexual expression, or what empowers a liberal woman may infringe on a conservative woman's religious ideologies. My partner already told you that you can opt out, but even if they are to a certain extent pressured to consume, we already took the trade-off that more women who are liberal and left-leaning already have that form of representation. And lastly, on their idea of things like addiction, body dysmorphia, and sexual dysfunction, there are genuine and legitimate harms, but they aren't really exclusive to porn. These are cookie-cutter attacks from anything that triggers your dopamine receptors. The same argument can be made against the cosmetics industry, which arguably can force women to conform to certain body standards. However, the porn industry, similar to big brands like H&M, Hermes, and L'Oreal, has evolved to capture all body types, all race, all genders, and all sexual fantasies, just to conform them if you want. People make informed decisions to consume this content even if there may be harms if overconsumed or used irresponsibly. The same cookie-cutter argument can be made against alcohol or cigarettes. They lack nuance, off-clash, uncompatible. First, to my extension. Why celebrating the movement? Why celebrating the consumption and creation of this type of porn forwards a more safe environment for the porn stars themselves? Why is this true? Number 1, because it is precisely through this celebration that has led to support, that has led to new avenues for women to grow out of the mold of just a porn star and like just an adult entertainer. Take for example, someone like Asa Akira or Lisa Ann or Monique Alexander, or actually a lot of porn stars actually, who because of this celebration and support has gotten them to the degree that they can be producers and make a profit of the things that at a point in time used to quote-unquote exploit them. And opposition would be right in saying that porn back in the day, and even a lot of porn today, is exploitative and predatory. But guess what? That's precisely the point. We tell you that the porn industry for such a long time was exploitative because female porn stars had no representation and had no support in actually enacting and wanting for the rise of their situation to be changed. And that is through lobbying power and coming together that has led to them attaining a better position. Why is celebrating it now leading to such better results right now? 3 reasons. The first one is that women now have the opportunity to move around different companies and are now not beholden to the same 5 popular and stereotypical and to a large extent also predatory companies, enabling some form of leverage they otherwise would have not had if they didn't have the celebration or the positive reception backing them. Second is that the porn industry has democratized itself to such an extent that you don't even need these porn companies, as websites like OnlyFans, Fancy, Patreon all exist without the need for porn stars to actually start a contract while still making money. Thirdly is that it has led to the softening of the perception that it's just men who dominate the industry. Because there are now women in the industry, it opens up the space to everyone involved. Sure, I'll take PY. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Do you agree that it doesn't no matter what the process is, there's still indirect harms that come with the way for pornography?
Sure, there could be indirect harms, but what we're telling you is that through this celebration, through this process of celebrating all these porn stars made by women, it's going to be far more beneficial to the actual women themselves. In fact, outside of the porn star themselves, it also leads to a more nuanced perception of the industry. And this is where the taboo that exists in status quo is quite strong, right? It's precisely because we see that's disgusting that has led to the commodification or the label of women as just being good. We tell you that in doing this, it leads to a lot more good for them. Why is our case so integral? Really quickly, the first and most obvious is that these are women. There are women right now in the porn industry who, because of their circumstances, are porn stars. If LO really wants to go down the route of it not being important, then they are abandoning a specific subset of women. So on the standard of supporting all women, we win. Second, on the topic of why celebration is such an integral part of this debate, we told you that this celebration leads to more support, more leeway, more power for these women. Lastly, and most importantly, it is the rhetoric that exists in LO and side opposition that continues to separate both sides from the conversation of sex. We on side government think this is abhorrent and we support our policy. For all those reasons and more, round.